Hello, welcome to Odyssey 2 version .04, which was released on Friday, February 25th. I'll be going through the release notes and providing an example for each. The first bullet, printers will see updates when accessing the My Products page. I'll show you that here in a moment, but there's three sub-bullets, would you say, related to this My Products page. The first one, product workflows will show existing or legacy workflows as well as newly created advanced workflows. And I have an example of what this looks like, and then I'll actually go through and show you how those became. So here's an example. I'm going to collapse this back down. I have an order form called Flyers for the MI4P demo. And here's our workflow tab on the right. And if I open it up, a legacy workflow here is showing with this disabled workflow button. And I had just created before this recording an advanced workflow. And if we open up this advanced workflow, we have a child workflow. Otherwise, we call it a simple workflow that is part of this master or advanced workflow. So this is what the hierarchy looks like. And if I go back to My Products, just to show you, we can open up each one of these, and most likely most of mine will have legacy workflow because I haven't been in there to really do much. But again, if I drill down to my categories of flyers for MI4P, and here is my one order form under that category, I'm going to drill down with the workflow tab. And again, I have an advanced workflow called Flyer 04. And if I open that up, I had created a simple workflow. Maybe you can consider it as a child workflow as part of the parent. And this simple or child workflow is called digital printing. So that's a little bit about the hierarchy. And I mentioned a little bit about legacy workflows. They have the workflow icon grayed out. This icon is meant to show that these workflows are original or simple workflows. And just to go back to this example, down here I have what's called My Flyers Demo. And it has its icon grayed out. And most of yours probably will too, or I should say all of them should, legacy or existing workflows up until version 04 was released. So that is grayed out for now. And then the last part of this, I'm going to go through a little bit. Printers may add a simple workflow as part of an advanced workflow by starting from scratch or using an existing simple workflow to copy in order to edit the copied simple workflow. So I'll go through and break this down for you. And I'm actually going to collapse down and go to a different product. So we're starting from scratch for you. We'll go to flyers. And I have a couple here. For instance, this top one that says awesome flyer. I'm going to open up the workflow tab. And I have some existing legacy workflows, not a problem. But we're going to start from scratch. We're going to say create workflow. And we're going to give this workflow a name. And I'll just call it flyers for V04 production server. And this is going to be the name of the advanced workflow. So I'll show you how to go in and we're going to name a simple workflow. So now we're at this next section where this workflow variation name, this is going to be the first simple workflow. And for this example, maybe you want to have a simple workflow for digital printing. I'll just call it digital printing. You can enter in your quantities here. You can select all the sizes, the paper choices, and maybe any colors that would be applicable to digital printing. And then you would click next step. And I should really have mentioned on the previous screen was related to order form questions. You're able to select the order form questions and answers that would be applicable for this simple workflow. In this case, I'm going to consider it all of the maybe color options and the quantity that would be applicable for digital printing. So here you can go through and add your processes as part of this workflow. I'm just going to make this super simple, cut parent to run size, maybe digital printing, we're going to trim it, and maybe a final quality check. Add these processes. I'm going to go through the automatic linking takes place. Now, there's other things I could do as part of this. For instance, I could go in and add resources and add calculations, and I'm not going to do that for these purposes. I just want to show you the purposes of the advanced versus the simple workflows. So I'll go to next step. And so we're at this last step here where I am creating a digital printing simple workflow. And if I select add to main workflow, this is going to drop digital printing down in the hierarchy to be part of an advanced workflow. So I'm going to go back and show you what this looks like so far under flyers. And actually it was regular flyers. And it was under this first one here. If I open up the workflow here, I created or named, I guess, an advanced workflow called Flyers for Prod Server. And if we open up this green workflow button, I had created one simple workflow called digital printing. Now, what I could do, according to this last bullet here, I had started from scratch. Another option is I can use an existing simple workflow to copy in order to make edits for another simple workflow. So what I'm going to do is use this digital printing and select create copy. And I'm actually going to call this offset printing. So now I'm creating another simple workflow, but for purposes of this example, this would be considered for offset printing. So maybe we have a quantity of 2001 on up, maybe 20,000. All of the sizes and the paper choices are applicable, but maybe for this example, I want to choose the color options in addition to the quantity that could be considered for offset printing. And then, yes, we know that some of these sizes and some of these papers were already covered in my digital printing simple workflow, but I had chosen a few different color options that'd be applicable for offset printing. So I'm going to click OK. You can still edit this workflow. Remember, this is a copy of the digital printing. So if you need to add, offset plates and other things related to plate making, you can go ahead and still add those processes. Odyssey will automatically connect them once you rearrange them. You'll still be able to go through and add resources and calculations and so forth. But again, just for ease of showing you, I copied the digital printing simple workflow. I gave this new one a name called offset printing. You can manipulate this workflow as needed, and I will select add to main workflow. And to show you again what that does, if I go back to products and I go back to flyers, and I open up this workflow tab, we still have that original advanced workflow called Flyers for VO4 Prod Server. But if I pop open this workflow tab, I now have two simple workflows. I have a digital printing workflow and an offset printing workflow. You can go into each of these and edit as needed. Or if you need to make another simple workflow from either one of these, you can select the copy or this arrow icon to basically copy to make a new one using all the existing processes, calculations, and so forth that you added. What this looks like as far as from an advanced workflow perspective, how this is going to be perceived in Odyssey is you'll be able to make as many simple workflows as needed with conditions and calculations, and Odyssey is going to automatically place them in this advanced workflow. And Odyssey will automatically be able to choose and know which simple workflow to use based on answers on the order form, and which is based on conditions that you added and calculations at the workflow level. So Odyssey is starting to gain smarts to know which simple workflow to use out of this master or advanced workflow. If I was to add another simple workflow, it would basically branch off the node here and create another simple workflow. So you're able to create as many simple workflows as needed to be part of, would you say, this one advanced workflow. There are going to continue to be really good changes coming to the advanced and simple workflow concept. But as of VO4, that is what has been released so far. So I'll do a quick recap. because there's a lot going on here. If we pop open the workflow tab, again, we have our existing or legacy workflows with this workflow tab disabled. And I created or named an advanced workflow called Flyers for VO4 Prod Server. And if we open the workflow tab up for the advanced, I had created two simple workflows, one called digital printing, and then I had copied that one and then renamed it to say offset printing. And again, a user can go in here and edit conditions, calculations, resources as needed, whenever needed. So that's an overview without getting too in-depth related to the updates when accessing the My Products page. Going forward, printers are now able to receive a payment at a company or branch level. So invoices and credits for all customers at the company or branch level will be viewable based on the company or branch filter. So I have two tabs to show this. This first tab here, and I'll close out, I had gone under accounting, receive payments. And for this example, I drilled down to one of my companies. And right here, I have an invoice that is available, if need be, for you as an Odyssey user to invoice at a company level. So I could go through and select this invoice, and you can add in payment dates, the amount that was received for this invoice, what was the method, if you want to have a reference number, I should say there should be a reference number, and where you want to deposit. So in this example, you're able to, based on the filters up here, receive a payment for invoices. I just have the one, but there could be many invoices at a company level. Similarly, I have another tab here, and what I had done, and just to show you how this works again, is we go to accounting, receive payment, and I went down to one of my companies that I know I have invoices, but I want to invoice it at a branch level. So I'm going to drill down to company, then I have a branch called bulk orders. And again, here is my invoice that I can select, or if you had multiple invoices, you can select them all. You can enter in a payment date, how much was that amount received, what was the payment method. You would fill all this out and save, and you are able to save, or I should say receive payments at a branch level as well. So Odyssey is set up where you can receive one or more payments for multiple invoices at a time at a company or a branch level. The last update for version 04, estimates in which a price was manually overridden will show a pin icon next to the selling price. And I have this last tab here. I have an example where I have a workflow where I have two quantities. And what I was referring to is, and I could actually show you if I want to make a third quantity that you would then like to show or send this to your print buyer to be able to approve one of the three quantities. I'm going to say add quantity as a copy. And maybe for this last quantity or third quantity, I'll say this is for a quantity of 2,000. I'll just give this description of third quantity. And this is key is quantity price. Let's say this is $1,200. And instead of using the price calculated by the workflow, I'm going to leave this toggled to off. So this is telling Odyssey I'm overriding whatever price Odyssey would calculate, and I'm telling Odyssey what I want the price to be, and I'm going to select save. And so that pin icon, this is what I was referring to, will show you if you calculated or entered in a price instead of having Odyssey calculate the price based on the workflow. So I'm going to X out of this screen. Here's that quantity 3 I just created. And here is that pin. Again, the pin is next to the selling price on this screen. That is indicating to you that the price was overridden and we did not have Odyssey calculate the price based on the workflow. And if I go to add quantity as a copy, you will also see the pin icon show up here. For the third quantity just added in a previous quantity, I had also entered in a price, meaning I overrode Odyssey calculating a price from the workflow. Those are the updates for version 04. Thank you for listening.